They just paid the last quarterback, Jones, $40 million. So you're getting Wilson, a proven quarterback, maybe past his prime, but serviceable for next to nothing.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition, in segment 1, we're going to find out if any of these offseason moves, early offseason moves, I should say, are making a difference. In segment 2, we're going to give the Tennessee Titans free advice with the number 1 pick, and in segment 3, we're still educators, and there's some people who had some transgressions as college students, and how long should we hold that against them? But first, do any of these moves make a difference? We're going to talk about the Giants first, and with us to talk about the Giants, Teacher of the Month, every month, Mike Connors. Mike, dangerous. Russell Wilson is expected to be the New York Giants starting quarterback. Wilson signed a 1-year deal that can pay as much as $21 million. Does this make a difference, or you don't care?
I hope it does, because I don't like this quarterback draft class. I think it's poo-poo. I mean, Cam Ward in the 2026 draft, he's the number 1 quarterback in this draft. He'd be the number 4 quarterback in the 2026 draft, behind Arch Manning, the Tennessee quarterback, and Drew Altler from Penn State. So I would rather the Giants have a stopgap for 1 year and then be able to draft a much better quarterback who's already ranked higher than this guy, Cam Ward, and have another year of maturity under their belt. So let's look at the 2 signings. Russell Wilson, 1 year, $10.5 million against the cap. Can earn up to $21 million for incentives included in that contract. They just paid the last quarterback, Jones, $40 million. So you're getting Wilson, a proven quarterback, maybe past his prime, but serviceable for next to nothing. And before that, they signed Jameis Wilson to a 2-year, $8 million contract. You know who else makes $8 million over 2 years? Backup guards. So these are 2 good signings. Wilson looked decent through the beginning half of the year last year for the Steelers and then gave way to Fields. So if these 2 can split time for this season, it's costing the Giants nothing. And there's talk of Shedeur Sanders being around for the 3rd pick. I don't know if I want him or not. I think he's tough. I think he has a very strong arm. I don't think he has the upside. I think he could be an average quarterback in the NFL and have a career. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think that's what the Giants and the owner Mara are looking for. You know, we haven't had the best quarterbacks in history, but we've had some good ones. Phil Simms, above average quarterback, highest passer rating by a quarterback in the Super Bowl ever. Eli Manning, borderline Hall of Famer. I'm not saying if I think he is or not, but
very good.
But a borderline Hall of Famer. You know, a lot of people say, you know, he had a 500 record during the season and then turn it off in the playoffs, but he never had a lot of the tools that a lot of other great quarterbacks had. But that's a discussion for another day. So I like this play by the Giants. They didn't sign any of them to a long-term contract. They didn't tie up a ton of money. They made smart business decisions. So hopefully the quarterback whisperer, Brian Dable, can work with these 2 and have them be serviceable enough for a successful year. Now, what's success after a 3-wing season? That's debatable. That's above my pay grade. That's why I'm a teacher, not a GM for a football franchise. But I like what they did.
Okay. George, I'm going to give you the Minnesota Vikings. They named J.J. McCarthy as their starting quarterback, but they're still kind of hanging around to see what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. If you're the Vikings, are you good with J.J. McCarthy? Does that make a big deal, or what do you think about what the Vikings are doing?
No, they need an insurance policy. We don't even know if J.J. McCarthy, what he's going to be like as an NFL quarterback. I have my questions about him in going into last year. I didn't see him as a top line quarterback, pro quarterback. If you look at his body of work at Michigan, he wasn't a guy that got the ball down the field well. He didn't read checks well. I mean, he threw a lot of screens, a lot of 5-yard. They didn't ask a lot of them because they relied mostly on that running game. So I was not enamored with J.J. McCarthy. So if I'm Minnesota, I'm looking at the situation like, man, we got we got to have a backup plan in case this doesn't work out. I wouldn't have drafted him, but since they did, they got to find out what they got, and if it doesn't work, they got to have a direction to go into.
All right, George, I'm gonna stay with you because this is a quasi family, so we'll just call him a cousin to the crew. The New England Patriots signed Stephon Diggs, a four-time Pro Bowler, to a 3-year, $69 million deal. Diggs is 31, suffered a season-ending ACL injury in Week 8 last year, but up until then, he has been more than serviceable. And Drake May now has somebody to throw to. Is this a big deal? Is this going to make a difference?
Yeah, it's gonna make a difference because Drake May is a good young quarterback who has no weapons. Listen to what I say again: no weapons. There's nobody out there. I mean, he was throwing to my next door neighbor last year. They were pulling people off the woodpile. So any serviceable guy out there with a rep that Stephon has. And if Stephon even comes back at 80% of what he was, it's going to be an improvement to what they had. So if I'm Drake May, I'm jumping for joy. I'm meeting Stephon at the airport. I'm driving him back to wherever he's going, and we're gonna go as soon as he can. I'm gonna get some reps in with him automatically. I'm gonna tell him ahead of time. You ain't gotta cry to me about getting the ball. All you gotta do is get open because you're gonna be the first place I'm looking. Well, in that case, because he's got nowhere else to look. So definitely that's a big one for him.
Okay, Connors, I'm going to you. Ravens. Baltimore Ravens reached a 3-year contract extension with Coach John Harbaugh last week. The deal keeps Harbaugh under contract until 2028. Now, Harbaugh is 62. I didn't even know that. He was entering the final year of his contract. Still haven't won that Super Bowl yet, though. But is that a good thing to lock up John Harbaugh? What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, yes. I have written down on my note sheet, Harbaugh equals winner. The players love him. They're always in the hunt. They started a little slow this year, but we talked about them knowing how to play playoff football. The Harbaughs motivate people. They might not be your cup of tea in interviews and stuff like that, but we don't know them in the locker room, and they get people to drink the Kool-Aid. So I think signing Harbaugh and keeping him in Baltimore with the Ravens is a great deal. 62 is not that old for a coach. Look at Pete Carroll, 72. Look at Bill Belichick, 147, dating a 22-year-old. So, medical enhancement helps coaches too, it seems. But so I think that signing Harbaugh is a great, great deal to keep stability in one of the most stable organizations since it moved back from Cleveland.
Hey, by the way, and he has won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did win a Super Bowl.
He did win one. He did win one. Yes, he did. All right. Good stuff. All right, so in segment 2, fans, we're going to give Tennessee advice and what to do with the number 1 pick. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CK Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches Podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2, Draft Decisions. So I've got two football people with me, and the big question is, what do you do if you're Tennessee at number one? So it is widely assumed that they're going to pick Cam Ward, but man, on that other side of the ball, you got that Penn State kid. And George, I'm gonna start with you because you watch a little extra Penn State football than everybody else. What would you do if you were Tennessee with the number one pick?
Okay, so let's take it like this. First off, with the draft, the kid from Penn State, I'm concerned. That leg injury concerns me. I don't care what anybody says. Now, of course, they're going to put the narrative out there that he's going to be fine and this, that, and the other. That really concerns me. But with Tennessee, I'm gonna go off the cuff right now. If I'm Tennessee, I'm gonna complete that trade with Dallas for Dak Prescott, and I'm gonna move. That's what I'm gonna try my best to do. Now, if I'm still stuck in the number one spot, I got it. Whatever those medical reports come back, I hate leg injuries on young dudes. It messes. It's just not a good thing. We had perfect example. The linebacker from Notre Dame a couple years ago. Dallas picked him up late. He was good for maybe 2 years, and then they ended up cutting him loose. I think he was in Green Bay last year. Those leg injuries are a big thing. Um, Tennessee is in a worst case scenario where I mean, who they have under center. I mean, you're talking about you're talking about your most important position to have. Um, Personally, for me, and Mike and I were just having this conversation because Shador Sanders does not make mistakes and he's can plug and play. I'd go that route. But if you like Cam Ward, you like his upside, you go Cam Ward. But if you don't like either one of them, if you don't like either one of those quarterbacks, you go with a safer bet. I mean, I don't take Hunter off the board. Travis Hunter's going to be an asset no matter where he goes. But with me, my first goal, if I'm Tennessee, I'm trying to complete that Dak Prescott trade and then go from there.
Okay. Do you know what they were offering for Dak, by the way?
I've heard a number of names in between, but supposedly that thing is still under discussion right now. They're still having back-to-back discussions about that.
Okay. Connors, if you're advising Tennessee, what are you doing with the first pick?
Um, I, I like what George was saying with the trade for Dak. I don't think that besides Travis Hunter, I don't think that there's a bona fide number one pick in this draft. And like George said, Abdul Carter with that knee injury scares me. It's one thing to blow a knee and just be a runner. But when you've got to push off with that leg and you're an edge rusher, those knee injuries can do a lot of damage to that. It's one thing to be quick off the ball, but then to get that push and that drive with that leg again can be concerning. But if it comes down to the quarterback, like George was saying, I think Cam Ward is a better pick. I don't think he's a plug-in quarterback right away, but I think he has more upside than Shador Sanders does right in the long run. But if they're looking for someone to play right away, I think Shador Sanders is ready right away. I'm not saying he's going to be a star, but I think he has the size. He's tough as hell because he was in Colorado for 2 years with no line and was sacked I don't want to make up a number, but a huge amount of time. And he got up every play and he got up and threw the ball. He throws with good accuracy. He's got a strong arm. I just don't know if he's going to develop much, much more than what he is now. Now, that being said, there's a reason I'm a special ed teacher and not in a front office somewhere. So, but that's just why. If I was them, I would try to get the quarterback from the Cowboys and trade back. But they've had extra meetings with Cam Ward and extra workout sessions. And I don't know if they're playing the politics game of, oh, we love this guy. Oh, we love this guy. Does anyone else want him? So I'm waiting to see if that's just smoke and mirrors to try to increase his draft value or if they're really going to pick him.
George, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's the thing with Shador, and he makes those throws under pressure. He's willing to stay in the pocket, and is because he got sacked 5 million times while he was at Colorado. He's not going to, he's not going to get happy feet like a lot of quarterbacks do, and start seeing shadows. So he that's where, and Mike's right. He's a plug and play. He's plug and play. He's right there. He's not going to lose a game for you. So that's where it is. So but Tennessee. If I'm their GM, I'm trying to make everybody think I'm gonna take Cam Ward, and then I'm gonna go ahead and make that trade with Dallas.
Yeah, call me Monty Hall. Hey, Tennessee, trade the pick. You're going to stink next year no matter what. Go get yourself some cheap assets and stay away from the fourth round draft pick, okay? Stay away from the fourth round draft pick. That's Dak Prescott. Stay away from the fourth rounder. Don't do it. All right, so it's segment 3. I've got a teacher. I got a counselor here. We've got some issues. I want to flush this out. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Don't pick the fourth round. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Keith Adams, and for years, I've witnessed the struggles student athletes face on how to truly balance the demands of academics and athletics. It's a question that I have dedicated my life to answering. That's why I wrote Finding the Balance, my personal journey to academic and athletic success. It's more than just a book. It is my personal journey, and it is filled with hard-earned lessons from decades as a coach, educator, and now president of the CKA Safe Project. Inside, you will find practical advice, real-life stories, and a clear roadmap to help student athletes, coaches, and parents navigate the complex world of balancing sports and education. And now I am thrilled to bring this message to a wider audience as a proud member of the Cascade Sports Network. We're partnering to amplify these crucial conversations about student-athlete success. I believe every student-athlete deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, both on and off the court and the field. You can purchase your copy directly from our website at www.ckasafeproject.org. Join me and the Cascade Sports Network as we work together to help every student athlete succeed. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, we're educators, and in my day job, I do a lot with restorative justice or restorative approaches, depending on what area of the country you're in. And there's a lot of life lessons we learn through athletics, and real life is real. But should we punish a future professional for behavior they did in college? I want to talk about Hunter Deckers. In August 2023, Hunter Deckers was charged in a state investigation that led to the nation's first major crackdown on college athletes and gambling since the 2018 Supreme Court decision paved the way for legalized sports betting. So here's what he did. He made approximately 366 bets on his mother's DraftKings accounts, totaling $2,799, including a $15 bet in 2021 on Iowa State, the school he was at the time, to beat Oklahoma State, a game he was on the roster but did not play. He later pled guilty to a reduced charge of underage gambling. The legal age to gamble in Iowa is 21. Deckers didn't turn 21 until later that year. But based on one Iowa State wager, the NCAA ruled him permanently ineligible. Other athletes who gambled much more money but not on their sport received suspensions but retained some eligibility. The NCAA rule says if you bet on your own team, typically you face permanent loss of eligibility, while those who wagers on teams at their own school but not their own team face penalties beginning with the loss of 1 year of eligibility, according to guidelines approved in 2023. George, you're our counselor. This is across your desk. What say you, sir?
Well, I mean, it's a touchy subject. It really becomes. Let me put it like this, because they're going to do, your college kid, and especially going back to my days as being a college athlete, you're broke without the inability to make money. Up until NIL, we were sitting there. I remember them days where the whole apartment had to get together, scrounge together, and buy a Papa John's pizza late at night. So it's not a good thing. And if you got a way to make some money, you're gonna make some money. Now, it really this is what the tipping point with me when it comes to with athletes and gambling. when you bet on a game on your team that you have the ability to affect the outcome, that's where I got a problem. If that's not taking place, I'm not going to hold but so much over a young man who's uh who's struggling for money while he's in college. We're looking for ways to beat the system, and they're always going to look for a way to beat the system, and that is what it is. So, does he need? Should he get a second chance? I wouldn't be opposed to him getting a second chance, but there's going to be thorough investigation behind it because he did bet on his own team. Um, he had inside knowledge of what was going on, who was hurt and who wasn't. And what I am going to do as a pro team, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at. I'm going to dig into his background. I'm going to see what's there. I'm going to investigate that case a whole lot, and I know the NFL will. So yeah, that's where I am. I as long as he didn't have the ability to directly affect the outcome of the game, I give him a second chance on that whole situation.
Okay. Mike, you're a social studies teacher, so by trade, we're trained to look at things on both sides. What are you thinking about the Hunter Decken situation? Should NFL teams care, or what do you think?
Historically speaking, gambling on sports is the unforgivable sin. Chicago Black Sox, Shoeless Joe Jackson, banned for life. The point shaving scandals of New York City College in basketball in the 50s and 60s, banned for life. Pete Rose betting on baseball, banned for life. There was a pitcher for the Yankees whose last name was Howe, who was banned for drugs 19 times, and they let him back in the league every time. Not every crime is seen as equal in the eyes of these organizations. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. But historically speaking, gambling in sports has always been an extreme negative. I mean, Mickey Mantle was almost banned from appearing at Yankee Stadium at Major League Baseball events because he was a greeter at a legal casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. In the 1970s, I believe it was, might have been early 80s. But Major League Baseball said, you cannot take a paycheck from a gambling organization and be associated with pro baseball. So gambling has a different, what's the word I'm looking for? Stigma to it. It has a different stigma. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. So this young man made a poor decision. I'm not saying gambling is bad, but he made a poor decision to, one, gamble on someone else's account. That shows that he knew he was doing something wrong. If he wasn't of age, he should have waited. He should never have bet on his own team. I mean, Pete Rose taught everyone that, and he bet on his team to win too. The poor man died, should have been in the Hall of Fame 30 years ago, but he's still not. I don't know if he ever will be. And if he does get voted in, his family should say no thanks, my opinion. But so some sins are forgivable. Some are not. And most organizations in athletics deem gambling as the one sin that they can't forgive. Now, it makes it much harder now because I know that there's legal gambling and you have a lot of guys. I mean, Michael Jordan, a lot of speculation. He went to pro baseball because he was gambling and the NBA didn't like it. So, I mean, there's lots of cases, lots of question marks. But, I mean, I know you can bet on different sports when you're in the NFL, but you can't bet from facilities associated with your team. So you can't be in the locker room on a workout and go onto your phone and go to DraftKings.com or ESPN bet and make a bet while you're at the team facility. Not on football, but any sport. So it's, even though the NFL is making a gazillion dollars from partnering with different betting firms, they still are not 100% behind it. So this young man, I don't know. I'd hate to see anyone who was deemed a great pick or a great football player lose out because of one bad decision. But life's not fair. People are treated differently. If you're the starting quarterback, you're going to be treated differently than the third string cornerback who's maybe on special teams once in a while. Life's not fair.
And you know what? That's why, I'm glad he brought that up because this is why this is even a question now, because the thought process or the viewpoint of gambling and athletics has changed so much since that athletics has now gotten bed with these with these big houses, DraftKings and Sports Dog and a couple other ones. Back then, I think because of the link to the mob, because there was a link to organized crime, you were seen. It was seen in a certain light, and it was dubbed a certain like that. that New York City basketball team situation was ridiculous because it was all mob induced. It was all mob led.
I don't know what you're speaking of with being involved with mafia and gambling. So, living in the New York area, I've never heard these associations.
Hey, Mike, watch Goodfellas. Anyway,
so I let this person in for this last segment because I'm about to use his quote. What did you think was going to happen when you got young, impressionable college kids and the ability to pick up their phone to bet and gamble and wait for it? They bet and gamble. We've got a problem because, George, you got Georgia football running down everybody. You got speeding tickets all over the place, and these guys win Super Bowl. So in this situation, I can't hold that decision against him for the rest of his career.
No, because with that analogy, you're saying the same thing with, okay, he's here. I'm gonna post his picture everywhere and make him super popular, and then I'm gonna put all these ladies in front of him. What do you think is gonna happen? So I mean, it's one of those things. So like I said, if he was directly involved in the game and could directly have participated, could change the outcome.
And he did. He
was on the bench. He never played.
But he knew if people were hurt. He knew who was playing. He knew had a bad hamstring. I mean,
then go lock up every inside trader on Wall Street.
They should. I mean, poor Martha Stewart had to go do time.
All right. So with that, fans, on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. And we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.